Hey everyone, welcome to today's live stream. I'm Anthony from brainbot for the Shutter Network, and we're very excited to have you for today's discussion. We're here to talk about a new milestone that's been hit for shielded trading on Gnosis Chain. And so for today, I have with us some experts that are going to be talking about this. But for those that have been with us since the July launch, just want to give you a quick overview. So shielded trading on Gnosis Chain, also known as the Shutterized Gnosis Chain, has been something of a threshold encryption mempool that was integrated into Gnosis Chain back in July to protect against transaction manipulation and malicious MEV, such as sandwich attacks and front running, and providing censorship resistance. And last week, we hit a new major milestone, which we're quite excited about, which was it was now included in Nethermind's main release and accessible to all Nethermind's validators. So today's discussion is going to be talking about this and the significance of it and how it impacts Shutter and the greater overall Ethereum ecosystem. So for today's discussion, as I mentioned, we have with us some special guests. We have Marc Harvey-Hill, who is the Ethereum core developer over at Nethermind. We have Philippe
Great to be here.
Thanks for coming. We have Philippe Schommers, who is the head of infrastructure over at Gnosis. Hey, Philippe.
Hey.
And then we have Petri, who's the lead developer at brainbot for the Shutter Network. Hey, Ulo.
Hey, everybody.
Cool. So anyways, thanks for coming to today and giving your perspective on this major milestone. So to start, what I would like to do is I want to pass this off to Ulo to get a little bit of the TLDR of shielded trading of Gnosis Chain. Give us a little bit of overview of what this is and what's happened since July.
Yeah, so basically what shielded trading or shutterized Gnosis Chain is an encrypted mempool on top of Gnosis Chain. That means when you use this, you will be protected against malicious MEV, front running, sandwiching, all those things that adversely affect, especially trading. That's also why we framed this as trading protection now. The way we build it is, without going too much into tech details, but to give an overview, we build it as an add-on on top of Gnosis Chain without changing the core protocol for the moment. That works by having, let's call it a secondary mempool, where you send your encrypted transactions, which then get picked up by a special set of validators that at the moment volunteer or are selected by hand to run a special client of Nethermind, which now is not a special client anymore, but I guess we will hear more of that from Marc. At the moment, I think, unless the number has changed, but I think we're at 2.7% of the validators that run this version of the client. So that means you're looking at an inclusion time of a minute or so, I would say. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. Also, it's somewhat random, so yeah, the times can't be guaranteed right now, but that will increase over the next weeks and months, hopefully to a significant degree. For the end user at the moment, the easiest way to use this is we provide an encrypting RPC, which basically just means you go to a website that we have linked in multiple places, configure your MetaMask, which will basically just add another RPC endpoint. And then from this point onward, your transactions on Gnosis are protected. And yeah, you will get all the benefits of not being front run and sandwiched when you do your dApp interactions and especially trades. Yeah, I think that should be enough for a rough overview, unless, Anthony, you want more detail?
That is excellent. That is excellent. Short and sweet. So thanks for giving the quick overview. So now I want to do is I want to go straight into the main release and lead the conversation to Marc. So the main release is a big moment for Nethermind, Gnosis, and Shutter. And essentially, it's opening up the floodgates to all the Nethermind validators to participate in shielded trading on Gnosis Chain. So I would just like, Marc, if you can just walk us through a little bit what's happening with this release and share a little bit of why this is such a significant milestone for the ecosystem.
We're really excited to announce this release. It's been a lot of work all culminating. And what this really means is that now anyone is able to permissionlessly run a Nethermind shutterized validator and like be a part of the protocol. And as Ulo said, this is going to mean that we can onboard more validators and you're going to get better UX for including your shutter transactions. To put this into context and in terms of like the wider shutter roadmap, like the protocol isn't complete. We're still improving it. We're still reducing the trust assumptions. But I think this is like a really important milestone. And to sort of put it into context of the shutter sort of roadmap and the different components we're working on. So I'd say the three main things are the keepers, which Shutter are working on, the validator, which is what we're kind of focusing on the milestone for. And then we're also working on the sort of validation phase, I'll call it, which is essentially going to give us like much stronger guarantees in terms of front running protection. I think this is like a massive milestone and we're definitely getting there.
Okay, thanks for giving a great overview of that. Can you share a little bit of like the experience and how it's changing with these new with the new main release?
Yeah, so the biggest change really is that there's not going to be an immediate change on the release, but now that it's out and more validators can come online, that we're going to see the time it takes to include transactions decreased as we have more validators including shutter transactions.
Okay, and then I'm just curious about the role that the validators play on this because I see it as a critical one. With this new phase and how it's changing, how does their participation actually enhance the network's performance and fairness? Can you dive into that a little bit further?
So in terms of like the role of the Nethermind clients, this is the first client to support Shutter and encrypted mempools in general. So to participate, to run a validator, you need to run Nethermind EL at the moment. But Aragon are also currently working on an implementation. So once that's ready, that will give even better UX. We'll have more validators potentially running the Shutter protocol.
Cool. Thanks for that. So now I want to step back and I want to think about the big picture. So DevCon, tremendous experience this year, a lot of discussions, and even calls for greater credible neutrality and censorship resistance on Ethereum and other chains. And I know you gave a presentation yourself on encrypted mempools on Ethereum. So what's based on what's happening here today with this release, shielded trading on Gnosis Chain, how does this fit into the larger conversation?
So this talk I gave recently was essentially giving an overview of the design space of encrypted mempools, and it's specifically focused on progressing towards deploying an encrypted mempool on Ethereum L1. So if you're interested in that, I think it's up on YouTube, so you can look up like encrypted mempools DevCon. I think you should be able to find it. But in terms of Shutter's place in this, like Shutter is helping us to progress towards this goal of having or encrypted mempools on all chains, but also specifically on Ethereum L1, which is also featured as part of Vitalik's roadmap. So like there's been ongoing discussions with researchers, different people, some from the Shutter community, like all with this goal of improving encrypted mempools, making them more trustless. And yeah, I think a lot of that is being pushed forward by Shutter. So my focus on at the moment is, so I mentioned this like validation phase. So that's, I think, the kind of end game for encrypted mempools in a way. So this is something that's going to give you even stronger guarantees against front running. So essentially, it ties your transaction that you send to the encrypted mempool to like being included at a certain place. So then you no longer have to trust the proposer whatsoever because your transaction's kind of locked in. It's not going to be able to be front run under any situation. So yeah, no, I'm discussing this with other researchers and the Shutter community, and yeah, so watch this space.
Great. Thanks for the quick overview, and thanks for characterizing this area as a validation phase, because I think it really paints a picture of what this means, setting validation for what this could be for other chains in the future. So Philippe, now I want to pass it on to you. So I've been following you guys for a while. We work quite closely, and I know credible neutrality is a core value for Gnosis Chain and Gnosis Chain. So maybe you can share a little bit of the big picture vision for Gnosis Chain and explain how shielded trading is supporting and strengthening this right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So credible neutrality has always been a very important point for Gnosis in general, and I'd say with cow swap, for example, MEV protection, and not being able, to get your value extracted was a very good start. Or I mean, still is, right? Cow swap is extremely popular for a good reason. That was a very good project. And then with Safe, I'd argue that even the self-custody part, having a safe multisig and everything related to that is also very important towards that. And obviously now with the shutterized Gnosis chain, we are making that more generally available, because I mean it's maybe framed as shutter trading, but in the end it's actually a general purpose protocol, right? So you can actually protect anything you want, be it trading, so for MEV, but also for many different projects which are probably less popular because there is maybe no money involved. But you could still protect anything you want, which I think is very important, and giving users the choice is also very important in our opinion. So yeah, we are very happy about having Shutter on board. Obviously, currently it's only available in Nethermind, but we plan on increasing this because we're also very focused on client diversity, right? So there's the credible neutrality part, but also the safety of the chain. So it's important to have many different types of validators or clients, basically. So currently you have Nethermind, Aragon, but we are also doing a quite big push on Geth and Wrath. So we want all of those to be supported. So please don't go and update all your Aragon nodes with Nethermind Shutter ones. For example, we need to keep some good balance between Nethermind, be Shutter enabled or not, and Aragon. But yeah, very happy about this step forward. So yeah, thank you everyone for participating in that.
Great. Thanks for the good overview on that. Really pleased to see things progressing forward on credible neutrality, on Gnosis Chain, and so forth. So I kind of want to look ahead at the future. So as mentioned, Marc, you were talking about how we're in the validation stage, and eventually we're testing it right now to see how this encrypted mempool could be expanded to other chains in the future, whether it's on Nethermind or beyond there. I'm just kind of curious. So how could this future potentially play out as far as the expansion of an encrypted mempool on other chains? I'm just curious to get a little bit of a sensing on this.
Yeah, so I think in future we're going to see encrypted mempools deployed on many chains. I think it should be deployed pretty much on all chains in future. As I said, I'm very excited about the potential of deploying on Ethereum L1. But I think Gnosis is the perfect place to start out as compared to Ethereum. Like it's able to sort of move faster and kind of be more, I guess, pioneering and kind of push forward. So yeah, I think there are still challenges. Like the biggest thing we have to do is more research, more engineering work to kind of gradually peel back these trust assumptions. So sort of validation phase. I guess I was talking about it in terms of like validating the idea, but also kind of on a technical in a technical sense of like this validation is a way of removing trust as well, which is still being researched, developed. And so yeah, I think that we're moving in the right direction to solve these problems, and we're going to be able to expand to other chains in the future.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So my next question, I want to open it up to everyone. So encrypted mempools, yes or no, and maybe add a little bit more, a little bit of your perspective. Should it be a standard feature on chains? Anybody want to start?
I guess I can start. I would say I'm probably a bit biased since we're working on this. But I think in the past in Ethereum, usually it has been that a bunch of technologies emerge and then they compete for adoption, and also people see how well they integrate into their daily usage of the whole platform, the ecosystem. So I think at the moment, encrypted mempools are quite a step forward for the users. If we will have something even better long term, hopefully, but at the moment, I think they are quite a good way to improve the average user's experience and not have them get just exploited by big players, let's say. At least that's my view.
Philippe?
Yeah, sorry, I agree. I think they are very interesting to have. As far as going, well, making it generally available by default on any chain, I'm not sure. I mean, for now, I think if as long as there's no consensus on the objective best solution for it, maybe we shouldn't start integrating them and keep it more as a kind of user or, well, app built on top of a chain and not integrated deep in a chain. But hopefully we get there at some point, and that if it can get integrated in chains and protect everyone by default, that would be great. But probably there's still a bit more work to be done to actually reach that point.
Great. Thanks for the overview. Marc, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. Like, I think it's always good for the users to certainly have the option to use an encrypted mempool. I would categorize into sort of two different categories. So you can have like an out of protocol mempool, which is what I call shutter. So it's not like in the consensus of Gnosis Chain. It's sort of like out of the protocol, and then you can have enshrined. So that's sort of like baked into the protocol itself. So I think that for now it makes sense to have these out of protocol solutions because it takes more time to make changes to the protocol. So for the time being, we can have these different solutions that people are able to use and kind of try out, and then eventually we'll see the different trade-offs, kind of be able to compare, and then eventually enshrine something into the protocol.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the overview of that. It was really interesting to hear the different perspectives on that. Ulo, so where we are today with this milestone set, I'm curious to get your perspective of Shutter, shielded trading, and its scalability and prudential adoption. Can you share a little bit of your perspective on this and kind of like where we're at with this point of scalability?
Yeah, sure. So from the technical side, there's really nothing that prevents us from onboarding more validators. At this point, I think we are at a pretty good place technologically. One area that still needs work is the end user experience. This encrypting RPC I mentioned previously is, I would say, a convenience feature that is not the optimal way to use the system because it still has some trust assumptions that this RPC doesn't do anything nefarious with your transactions. So that is definitely an area where more work is needed, but it's also somewhat constrained by wallet providers at the moment, since they are basically I don't want to say gatekeepers, but to some extent, they control how users interact with chains in general. And yeah, it's very understandable that they want to not run after every trend, I would say. But still, there is some need for flexibility in adding experimental stuff like encrypted mempools that are out of protocol. So yeah, that's something we are actively looking into, how to improve the user experience there. And yeah, I mean, there are always technical details to work on, like the propagation time between nodes and stuff like that. But I think that's going too far into technical detail for this call. yeah, but I would say user experience in general is where we definitely have work to be done in the future.
Okay, great. So thanks for that. So we're nearing towards the end of this conversation. And if anyone has any questions from the audience, feel free just to type in your message on the X Twitter chat, and then our audience can respond to it. But until I get any other questions, I'm just going to lead to the end of this. So as a recap, shielded trading in Gnosis Chain is now accessible to all Nethermind validators. And in the future, it's something that will provide safer transactions, improved stability, and a pathway towards expansion. So as a little bit of a close, I want to go and ask a couple questions for Marc and Philippe. So Marc, for the validators that are watching today, I want to understand what's the most compelling reason for them to enable shielded trading now? What's the reason for them to go and set it up, and what's the benefit?
Yeah, so I'd say there's kind of like short, medium, and long term, there's different answers. So in the short term, we don't currently have like an incentive system. So there's no like explicit reward for running a validator at the moment. So in the medium term, I think there's a good chance that like some kind of rewards or incentives will be introduced. Like I can't make any promises myself because this will like depend on like discussions. It will depend on the Shutter DAO, but I imagine that could happen at some point. But in the long term, generally, you're going to be better off running like enabling encrypted mempools on your validator because you're going to get increased rewards. So every transaction gives some kind of tip to the proposer. So this means if you're including more transactions, so from the encrypted mempool, then you're going to get more rewards for your validator. So at the moment, I would say this isn't like a really big motivation to run a Shutter because there's not that many transactions at the moment. But in future, then that's going to be a source of revenue for validators. So, but for the short term, I'd say if you want to like help us out with pushing the protocol forward and generally just participating in the network, then you should run on your validator.
Thanks for that. It's a big role for validators for helping us achieve this greater credible neutrality. So for those that get involved, they're really helping us build this big picture. So thanks for sharing that, Marc. Philippe, now I just want to finish off with you. What message would you like to share with Gnosis Chain users, and why should they set up shielded trading for their trades on Gnosis Chain?
Yes, so first I kind of want to reiterate the point about validators. So yeah, update your validator if you're running Shutter already. Just use the latest Nethermind version. That being said, if you're not, again, if you're running Aragon, please stay on Aragon. We need client diversity as well. It's kind of a tough balance between client diversity and having fast inclusion times for Shutter. That being said, for any users of Gnosis Chain, please go ahead and set up Shutter. You can help us test it. You can shield your transactions, which is very useful on many different protocols, maybe not CowSwap specifically, but others. And if you're doing so, please also consider running the encrypting RPC solver yourself. It is more technical, and we're definitely, as Udo mentioned, working towards that, potentially providing a .node package, something like that. But yeah, currently running it yourself is the only real way to not kind of emulate flashbots or MEV blocker and actually be decentralized and safe. So yes, if you're a bit more technical, please play around with that. Of course, all the feedback is very welcome. So you can go to the Gnosis forum, you can go to our Discord, on Twitter, whatever you want, but please get the feedback to us. That would be extremely helpful. And of course, thanks everyone for participating.
Great, thank you so much. So without any further questions, I'll go ahead and close. So thank you so much, Marc, Philippe, Ulo. Thank you for joining today and sharing your perspectives from your different vantage points and how you've been working on this. It was a very fruitful conversation. I really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and close, and we'll see everyone at the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, great to be
Bye.
here. Bye.